I'll probably try to put the original story in the description box when I can find it, but this is actually going to be an update. And even more so, one of the reactions I thought was really crazy, which came from the grandfather, to hear a raw reaction in court behind the dude that you see on my screen and what he's currently going through court for that he did to a little girl, to his daughter. It's just flat out unimaginable, inexcusable, and it might turn your stomach because we will talk about the detail again. But before we get there, let me warn you about my type of content. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. Oh, as an accused murderer in Connecticut, and I'm getting this story from lawandcrime.com, so thank you for the article. I think if you guys remember that this man was on the run, they eventually found him, which we're thankful that that was the case. But an accused murderer in Connecticut briefly appeared in court on Wednesday, which this was a matter of a few weeks ago. So this was a few weeks ago. Someone called out to him in an outrage. That person was his own father, and he was speaking on behalf of his granddaughter. So it's really crazy. I'm going to play that so you guys can hear it. He yelled out and said, "You're not going to say anything?" The man told defendant Christopher Francis Keeney, and that is a beautiful little angel right there. Beautiful little girl. He was yelling out to this man about what he did. He's 31 years old, and he was in obvious distress. And he said, "Chris, you're not going to say nothing? You're not going to say nothing?" That's because Francis Keeney is charged with murdering his 11-month-old daughter by the name of Camila Francis Keeney. And I was one of the first people to put her picture out, so people didn't even know what she looked like, because I wanted to pay homage to this baby's memory. And she is such a beautiful little angel. Beautiful little angel. 11 months old Camila. Police have said that he severed her right arm and disemboweled her, leaving her dead in a basement of the home that they shared with family members. He fled and sparked a manhunt last 2 weeks, according to authorities. So far, defendant Francis Keeney has reportedly not said anything in court hearings so far in a Waterbury Superior Court, even to answer questions from judges. Wednesday's appearance was brief, lasting just a minute to formally appoint public defenders to his case. According to a redacted arrest affidavit reviewed by Law and Crime, police were called out on November the 18th to a home in Millville Avenue. Officers had received a child, Camila, being dead. A detective stated that officers found a small child deceased with numerous stab and knife-related wounds, as well as parts of the child's body had been separated from the main torso area. I'm sorry, guys. I know that is hard to hear, but I want you to remember that that might be difficult for us to hear. But please remember that this happened to a baby who couldn't speak for herself nor defend herself against the tyranny of this freaking fool. In my opinion, I believe that we owe it to this baby to at least hear her story. Okay? Police discovered her laying on the floor several steps from the doorway. Her right arm had been completely severed, and her left arm partially severed, though still connected to the shoulder. The severed right arm had smooth cuts into the skin and tissue. The bone appeared to be snapped from the shoulder and pulled away from the body. The partially severed left arm had smooth cuts to the skin and tissue. She was cut around her belly button all the way up to her neck. She had been disemboweled and her intestines on the carpet. Oh my God. Look at his face. I don't think any of us would think anything less than the death penalty being sufficient as a punishment. That's just, wow. So I think you guys can understand why the grandfather reacted the way he did in court, but I'm going to let y'all hear his voice and hear his pain. A person whose name is redacted from the affidavit said that Frances Keeney blocked her from entering their bedroom and even blocked the doorway. They later went to a PetSmart parking lot. As they drove to Waterbury, the redacted name states that Christopher is sweating even though the outside temperature was approximately 35 degrees Fahrenheit. They drove to PetSmart instead to meet with an unknown male in the parking lot. As the redacted name states, Chris begins asking her questions that she thinks are strange and out of the norm, such as wearing a dog collar and being led by a leash. Christopher also asks multiple times that she is going to stay with him no matter what. He uses terms and statements and alludes to their being together no matter what occurs. Frances Keeney allegedly made other suspicious statements and destroyed her phone. As the redacted name states, when she refutes some of Christopher's questions and tells him no about the wearing of a dog collar, he smashed not only his cell phone, but that person's cell phone as well. Police suggested this was to stop her from calling someone for a ride, especially after she tells Chris that she wants to go home to JV number 1 Camila. I don't know what that means. Francis Keeney also allegedly cut off his GPS monitoring device from a previous case. So he was a thug. He should have never been allowed to be around this child, being the fact that I think that he had previous assault charges or something like that. I have to go back and relook at it. So, but he had a GPS monitor device on and also ditched his only credit card. He was reportedly on house arrest after being arrested in 2021 for an alleged carjacking and also attempted to escape from a detention facility. He was on special parole for a 2012 conviction of first-degree assault. So he was there for an assault also. That's him. Police say that the defendant abandoned the woman at a PetSmart store and began to flee, going as far as to attempt to sell his father's car without his dad's permission. I know that, oh man, just, ooh. That baby did nothing to deserve that. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. But more people have to know what happened to this baby. I think her story deserves to be heard, regardless of how difficult it is for people to hear. Nothing is worse than what this baby had to suffer through. Her story needs to be heard.
This hearing happened very quickly. His attorney requested a probable cause hearing, and right when Frances Keeney was being escorted out the courtroom, we heard a very strong reaction from his father.
You're all set. Great, you're not going to say nothing? Great! You're not going to say nothing? You're not going to say nothing?
The father of Christopher, Frances Keeney, having a major outburst in the courtroom as Frances Keeney remained silent during the brief hearing. This as Francis Queenie is facing serious charges for the gruesome murder and dismemberment of his 11-month-old daughter, Camilla. Just 3 weeks ago, it would have been Camilla's first birthday.
I just want to keep that smile and that laughter alive.
The community held a vigil to remember her on December 3rd, where we heard from her mother for the first time.
I really thank you. I appreciate everything. And I've been trying not to cry and everything because I just want to keep my baby's smile and laughter. Just because that's all she did.
The Department of Children and Families issued a statement saying the agency did not have any contact with the family prior to the tragedy. In addition, they said, quote, "This is a clear reminder for all members of our community, professionals, family members, and concerned citizens that protecting children takes diligent and persistent efforts." On the ground! Francis Queenie was arrested at a bus stop in Waterbury after being on the run for 2 weeks. Billboards with his mugshot was spotted on all major highways with a reward of up to $25,000. According to the arrest warrant, Francis Queenie had mental health issues but would not talk about it and suffers from PTSD and was supposed to be on medication. It goes on to state he was hearing voices and he would talk about urges to want to hurt people, but he would say he would never act on it. The hearing will be scheduled for next month, and if you know anyone who needs any assistance with behavioral health services, they can do so by dialing 211. In Waterbury, Carmen Chow, Fox 61 News.
And let me say thank you, and this is why I'm glad I have a live chat. So that video is actually under the title of Dad Strangled, Stabbed, and Dismembered 11-month-old Daughter in Horrific Murder. And this was done, the date that I put this up was on November the 27th. And I did put her picture up. And like I said, I know at the time I was one of the only channels on YouTube that actually had her picture up. And nobody had it posted at that time. So thank you for letting everybody know that. But yeah, that video was definitely on our channel.
Yeah, hi guys. Francis Queenie stood in court today with a mask covering his face. He refused to say anything. Meanwhile, 3 plainclothes Naugatuck police officers sat in the gallery behind him. They were all wearing pink ribbons in honor of his daughter, Camilla.
This is truly a horrific crime on that and.
And that's coming from the judge.
This involves the death and horrific mutilation of a child.
31-year-old Christopher Francis Queenie arraigned in Waterbury Superior Court Monday, just feet away from the bus stop where he was captured Friday following a 2-week manhunt.
He is an extreme risk for flight. There is an extreme risk to public safety.
You understand all that, sir? No response.
Francis Queenie is accused of brutally strangling and stabbing his 11-month-old daughter, Camilla, whose memory was honored at a vigil Saturday, Camilla's birthday.
Every day you see your daughter, every day, and then one day it just stops. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
Francis Queenie's newly obtained arrest warrant has little information on why he allegedly killed his daughter, but it paints a clearer picture of his efforts to evade capture. Looking for assistance to continue his fight, he links up with strangers, tries to contact former friends. At one point, he even attempts to sell his father's car.
Let me ask you guys a question, because they're going to look at the mom as a sympathetic figure here. Everybody's going to feel sad for her. I don't know if they already put up a GoFundMe or not. I don't remember. I'm not going to even look that up right now. But let me ask you guys this question. I'm going to look into the camera when I ask this. Is this story, considering the fact that he had a GPS special parole and all kind of stuff dating all the way back to 2012, is this not the epitome of hashtag when you date thugs, you date death? So if he had charges spanning all the way back to 2012, then you're talking about a good 10 years, because the little girl was only 11 years old. She wasn't even, or 11 months old. She wasn't even a year old. 9 to 10 years to do your research, to know who it is that you're creating kids with and getting pregnant by. Why is it that people get pregnant by thugs? And then you're surprised when the thug lion strikes and murders someone and murders your own child. Can we get somebody to type hashtag date thugs, date death? Because I still don't think people are taking this seriously. You just think you see somebody, and matter of fact, I'm going to show you the picture that the mom probably looked at right here. This one, and thought that was attractive with the do-rag on and the strong arms and tattoos, and you just like, ooh, that's cute right there. That's sexy. At the behest of creating a life, and look what he did to this baby. And that is your end result of dating someone like that who has a criminal past and a criminal record. But apparently, your feelings trump all of that. And that's the message that I continue to keep saying when I tell folks, when you watch the AFC podcast, every story I'm going to give people an opportunity to change, to repent, to think about the choices that they're making before they bring children into this world. With my podcast being 4, almost 5 years old, we've been here that long with roughly about 1,000 videos and millions of views. You can't tell me the word isn't spreading and that people don't know that you shouldn't date characters like this. My message was going full and strong months and years before this baby was born. You give it, what, 9 months of pregnancy? It's just under 2 years. And people still continue to get pregnant by folks like this. I'm going to play a couple more news videos.
And when he ran out of gas on the highway, he linked up with a stranger and used their cell phone to create fake social media accounts. Back inside the courtroom, we learned more about Francis Sweeney's lengthy and violent criminal past.
The record is replete with evidence and convictions of extreme violence,
Ranging from burglary and larceny to assault, even picking up a brand new charge.
He even refused to be fingerprinted.
The judge ordered Francis Sweeney held on a $5 million bond for the murder case and a total of $6.4 million for all his pending cases.
I believe a bond of a substantial nature is warranted to protect the public.
Now, even if Francis Sweeney does manage to post all of his bond amounts, he will not be let back out on the streets. His parole officer has remanded him to custody. Now, he's going to be back in court tomorrow in Bridgeport, but it's for a totally unrelated case.
Yeah, Ben and Jen, this arrest warrant for Christopher Francis Sweeney lays out a lot about this case. It explains the murder of 11-month-old Camilla Francis Sweeney and what happened before and after that, and we want to warn you that many details in this arrest warrant are very gruesome. Christopher Francis Sweeney appeared in Waterbury Superior Court Monday, accused of killing his 11-month-old daughter Camilla on November 18th at their home in Naugatuck. Fox 61 obtained the 36-page arrest warrant, which brings to light new details about what police say happened that day. Officers responded to a 911 call and found a small child deceased with numerous stab and knife-related wounds. Police say parts of the child's body had been separated from the main torso. 30 pieces of evidence were collected from the room, including shoes her father owned, containing blood droplets on them. On the morning of the murder, Camilla's mother had returned home from work, wanting to change clothes, but Christopher didn't want her to. She told police Christopher said they needed to go shopping and for her to not touch the room because he was going to clean it. She told police Christopher would not let her in the room. The two then headed to Waterbury. They stopped in this parking lot and another car pulled up next to them. The warrant states it appears Christopher knew who was in that car. Christopher and the mother got into a dispute. Then police say he broke both their phones and removed his court-ordered GPS bracelet. The mother went into a store to call for a ride home. Police say Christopher left. The mother later returned to the house and discovered the murder scene. The Chevy Impala Christopher was driving was later found on I-91 in New Haven after a driver called police to report that the operator had been walking around the car. 13 pieces of evidence were later collected from that vehicle, including the knife believed to have been used to kill Camilla. Another driver picked up Christopher after he said he ran out of gas and used that driver's phone to try and contact people he knew. The driver eventually left Christopher Christopher in New Haven. Surveillance footage later captured him on Quinnipiac Avenue in clothing family friends gave him at their apartment, unaware of what happened prior. While at this apartment, one witness said Christopher used their phone to create Snapchat and Facebook accounts. The witnesses later found out Christopher Francis Queenie was wanted by police. He was taken into custody Friday in Waterbury, 2 weeks after the murder. Now, according to this warrant, the mother of the baby told police Christopher was bipolar and did not believe he was taking his medicine. He told her he had voices telling him to kill his dad, but he was not going to do that. She said he was good with the baby and wanted her to have a better life than what they were living. He's now being held on a $5 million bond.
Well, a gut-wrenching outburst.
These videos pretty much repeat a lot of the same information, but again, in closing, boy, that manhunt was wild. It was necessary, but there's just no redemption for people like this. And the only option that we have is probably the death penalty. There's nothing going to come close to real justice for what he did to that beautiful angel. You know, I just really wish there were, I just wish that baby didn't suffer that. You know, if other family members, I'm pretty sure they probably felt like they would have gladly exchanged themselves in the situation for that baby to save her life. But it's just really, really sad. That was actually one of the original pictures. I know that you don't see his head there because I photoshopped it out, because I was trying to show just a picture of the baby, because that dude is flat out a monster. But that was one of the first and only pictures that was of that baby when I posted this story. But to Camila Francis Queenie, that princess. Let me see if I can get her face back up here. Such a beautiful little angel. R.I.P. And I'm just sorry that this world failed you, and I'm just sorry that our message didn't reach you soon enough. But I thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope everybody understands the gravity and how important it is to share these stories, to get this message out there, and hopefully we can stop putting our children in these situations to begin with, because there is a very clear pattern of dealing with certain types of people and what dangers that present to these children. And I've been putting it out there for a while. So I really, really hope that more people will share this and really come to the understanding that this matters. Thank you.